Right. Please can I welcome everyone to this virtual meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. The time is 10:20. This is a Winchester City Council meeting held under new regulations which came into effect on the 4th of April 2020 in respect of the COVID-19 situation. My name is Councillor Derek Green, Chairperson of this subcommittee. There are a few housekeeping matters to run through. First of all, please can I ask everyone present in this virtual meeting that your microphones remain muted and your cameras is switched off whilst you are not addressing the meeting, as this will reduce background noise and avoid any unintentional disturbances. Please can I also advise that this meeting is being audio recorded and live streamed from the website and then can be found next to the meeting details where the recording will remain thereafter. The MS Teams meetings will also now be recorded with the video uploaded to the Council's YouTube channel after the meeting. Members and officers, where appropriate, for each item, please use the chat function of the meeting to indicate that you wish to speak or raise a point of order or explanation, and I will invite you to speak at the appropriate time. Each member will be invited to speak in turn. Therefore, I would encourage all members to keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible, please. When speaking and referring to the agenda papers, please make sure that you reference the page or paragraph number. Thank you. Please note the duration of this virtual meeting is normally 2 hours, and any business not conducted after this time may therefore be deferred to an alternative date. Please can I now ask the Democratic Services Officer to undertake a roll call of members of the subcommittee to confirm who is present this morning.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Before I start that, could I please ask Mr. Sinclair to turn off his camera as well as muting the microphone? That's great, thank you very much. So Councillor Green, you're obviously present. Councillor, morning. Councillor Bento.
Yep, present.
Thank you. And Councillor Raphael.
Present.
Thank you. That's all members of the subcommittee present.
Thank you. Right. Welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Committee. The hearings regulations require that the hearing should take the form of a discussion led by the subcommittee and that cross-examination will not normally be allowed. We will be following the adopted procedure for these hearings, which is set out on the reverse of the agenda paper, which is just here. I take it everybody's got one. Oops. Each party will be allowed equal maximum time to exercise their right at the hearing. I will exercise my discretion to allow additional time if necessary, taking into account the requirement to allow all parties equal maximum time. Only those points contained in the written representation, the report and supplementary document can be raised. No new evidence can be considered except with the agreement of all parties. So, sorry. Right, could I ask the applicant and the licence holder to introduce themselves, please? If you'd like to turn on your microphones and your cameras. Thank you.
Hello, yeah, my name's Cody Sinclair. I am the applicant, well, owner of the business, and Rachel Everett Sharpier is the licensee holder.
Thank you very much. Please can I also ask the Democratic Services Officer to confirm the names of officers present this morning.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, present with us this morning we have Bryony Appletree, who is a licensing officer at the council. Carol Stefanchuk, who's the licensing manager. Nathan Mountney, who's litigation solicitor. Myself, Nancy Graham from Democratic Services, and also Claire Buchanan and Matthew Watson from Democratic Services.
Thank you very much and good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Okay. The subcommittee has read all the written comments on the application, which are included in the report. I understand that the following persons wish to address the subcommittee. Mr. Wallace, Torkington, Carolyn Torkington again on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Cannings, Joanna Rogers on behalf of Elizabeth Blackburn, Roger Lockyer and Chris Tiltman on behalf of Shelley Tiltman. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Thank you very much. We can only consider issues related to the 4 licensing objectives: prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, protection of children. The subcommittee will also have regard to the national guidance and the council's licensing policy. I'll now ask the licensing officer to introduce the report, please.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Lovely. This application is for the grant of a new premises licence under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003. The application proposes the supply of alcohol for consumption both on and off the premises between the hours of 8 AM and 11 PM Monday to Sunday, and until 1:30 AM on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. The full application is in Appendix 1 to the report, which is pages 17 to 35 of your bundle there. No representations have been received from responsible authorities with respect to this application. Representations have been received from 15 other persons, all of which are against the application. The representations are set out in Appendix 2 of the report, and that's pages 37 to 51. These representations primarily relate to the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance. Members are reminded that they may only take into consideration matters which relate to the 4 licensing objectives. May I also remind members that only those other persons who have made written representation may address the subcommittee or their nominated representative. There are several parties present at the hearing who wish to address the subcommittee today. Members are reminded that those individuals may only refer to the comments made in their written representation or in the representation of the person that they're representing today. If the subcommittee were minded to grant this licence, there are conditions set out in Section 5 of the report. The subcommittee may reword these as they feel appropriate to promote the licensing objectives. I believe Nathan Mountney, our litigation solicitor, wanted to make a quick comment about our licensing policy, so I'll pass over to him before I take questions. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Just very briefly, the Statement of Licensing Policy has 2 sections to it, sections B and section C. B is in relation to measures pertaining public safety and elaborating on the licensing objective, and section C, the prevention of public nuisance as well. Just in relation to section C, C4 under that has a number of items which may be of assistance when considering the prevention of public nuisance. No further comments from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you okay, Bryony?
Yes, I welcome any questions.
Okay.
Anyone?
Could I ask members if they have any questions? Councillor Bento?
I've got, no, got my camera on. Try. Right, yes, I've got one question. The application actually wants them to sell alcohol when they're closed on a Sunday. I assume the times on that have been confused somehow, so have we got a correction?
So the opening hours, councillor, on an application don't tend to be enforceable, if you like. They tend to be there for just information. You might find that some premises don't declare anything out on their application or on their licence, despite the fact that they are open to the public. So whilst the applicant may have made an error on their application there, which obviously they can clarify when it's their turn to speak, the licensable activities are the key things that we're considering here, if that helps.
So just concentrate on the hours of licensing rather than the hours of opening. Fine, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Raffel?
Thank you, Chair. No questions from me.
Thank you. I've got one. I'm slightly confused, which is nothing unusual, as we know. Provision of live music, no. Provision of recorded music, no. Is that right? So there's not going to be any music at all played?
The applicant hasn't applied for either of those activities as licensable activities, but it's important to note that both of those activities are actually deregulated or don't require a licence in a lot of circumstances. One of those circumstances is at a premises that is licensed for the sale of alcohol for consumption on those premises. So if the committee were minded to grant this licence as applied for, the applicants would be able to have live amplified music between the hours of 8 AM and 11 PM each day, and also recorded music in the same hours. So that's a deregulated activity that doesn't require licensing if the license permits the sale of alcohol. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. I was slightly confused, didn't I? Okay, thank you. I have no other questions at this stage. Okay. So I'll invite the applicant, please, or the premises licence holder to speak and to address the committee, please.
Hello, how are you today, everyone? I mean, this is obviously we need some help with regards to what we need to say here. I mean, we assume that we would maybe speak about, you know, complaints people had or, you know, different things. Yeah, I mean, as far as additional information, I'm not sure where this needs to go. Sorry.
Well, there'll be a chance to do that later on when we.
Okay. In that case,
the objectors speak.
Sorry to cut you off. I mean, in that, I mean, I would like to potentially, you know, can we speak about who the roasting party are, etc., what our objectives for the shop is, etc., before there's too many misconceptions about what we are, because I feel like, you know, we have potentially, because we're called Party Art, have, you know, got this, the wrong idea has been set out. I mean, all my shops, so I have also 3 in London, are called Party Art wherever they are. We are not a party venue. We are a specialty coffee place that wants to do not quite, you know, fine casual dining food, yeah, for the community, yeah. That's first and foremost. I do not be confused.
Green, sorry to interrupt. Mr. Just I see that Bryony has indicated that she wishes to speak.
Yeah, I was going to bring Bryony in a second. Yeah, can we just hold on there, Kevin? Bryony.
Apologies, Chair. I just wanted to answer Mr. Sinclair's question with regards to what he may wish to speak about. Firstly, we'd ask you to perhaps indicate your intentions for use of the premises and any matters that you may wish to compromise on in response to the representations that have been received, and give the subcommittee an idea of how you wish to operate the premises. Naturally, the application form doesn't lend itself to providing an awful lot of detail on your type of business, so I think that would be your starting point there, and then the subcommittee can certainly ask questions of you.
Okay, right. Well, I think both of us will speak. But like I want to say that we are, you know, specialty coffee roasters at heart. We have 2 to 3 locations in London that often operate espresso bars. However, this is our venture into also applying a more substantial food menu, because the venue lends itself to, with the outdoor seating and the indoor seating. With regards to alcohol, you know, we are about, you know, not the finer things, but making nice food, wine, coffee, you know, any product considered hospitality. We want to make that accessible to people and from a different range. We feel like we're very different in the community, and that there is an avenue for people to experience what we do, and we're extremely passionate about you know food and drink, and that is, you know, what we want to have for the venue. It's meant to be a venue that celebrates all of those things, yeah, as particularly with very good customer service. I think Rachel will speak about potentially why we made such long hours. I mean, reading the representations, you know, we can understand that probably that they would have some concerns with the length of those hours. Obviously, the application doesn't really lend itself to, you know, what we're trying to do. I think we would revise those hours of work, but we wanted to kind of potentially have all options available to us when we made the application, because we're still growing into what we're doing. We still don't have our pizza oven yet, and we still don't have our kitchen fully operational. So it's working as a cafe now, but you know, we have a Michelin star background chef come in who, you know, wants to do a modern contemporary European menu for brunch, but we also are going to do pizza 3 nights a week, and you know, an accessible breakfast that is grab and go. So I think Rachel will take over with regards to where we potentially go with making some changes to the application. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, we did leave the application quite open-ended, I suppose, to give ourselves options, but we can understand why there may have been some concerns about that. I think speaking to some of the local residents, the concerns were that we would be serving alcohol at 8 o'clock in the morning and people may be drinking for long hours. That was never our intention. So the 8 AM sort of start was more for our retail side of things. So there is some manoeuvre there that we can maybe put some conditions in place. So we don't have any intentions of people coming in at 8 o'clock and sitting and drinking all day. That's just not what we're about. We want it to be a nice, relaxed place where you can come and have a glass of wine with your lunch, glass of wine with your dinner, maybe if you're out with your family and that kind of thing. We're not a party venue. We're not a bar. There will be no standing sort of around bar area, because that's just not what we want at all. So there's definitely some sort of wiggle room for hours and that kind of thing.
For instance, we won't be open Sunday night. Yeah. Yeah.
So we've had a chat about our opening hours, where I think we're going to close at 6 PM on a Sunday now. So that can be written into the conditions. So on a Sunday evening, alcohol will stop at 5 PM. And we also propose maybe that before 11 AM, alcohol sales in-house will only be available to people having food on the premises. And then obviously off sales if they want to buy a bottle of wine, that kind of, because we're going to have like a deli area as well for sort of wines and that kind of thing. Yeah, so the Sunday evening thing, we won't be open Sunday evenings now. So I mean, I don't know how far we need to discuss other conditions that we thought about, or can that come later? Or
sorry, what was that again? Sorry.
So we've sort of written a few suggestions down for other conditions that we can chat about. Do you want us to talk about those now, or would you like us to on in response to other people's?
Can I just ask Bryony what she thinks?
Yeah.
Do we need to bring that in now, Bryony?
So it's up to you really, Chair. Normally the meeting would begin with the applicant speaking and then you inviting each person who's made representations to speak, but there is the flexibility to go back to the applicant once you've heard from those who have made representations if you wish.
Okay, we'll do that then. We'll hang fire with that one if you don't mind, and we'll come back to you again. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to apart from that?
I don't think so. I mean, we just want to chat to people that are living sort of close by and have a mutual understanding that we're not, cause any hassle for them, So.
No.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you for that.
Councillor Green, apologies, it's Nancy again. Councillor Raffel has indicated he wishes to speak.
I'm just coming on to that bit, and I'm just going to ask Councillor Raffel to speak, please.
Thank you, Chair. Is it possible for me to ask a question of the applicants?
That's the section we're just coming on to, Councillor Raffel. Members of the subcommittee may ask questions of the applicant, so please carry on.
Yes, could you give me a rundown of a normal day at your premises if you get the licence?
Do you want to go? Or do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be opening at 8 AM for breakfast, coffee, brunch, and then at the moment we have plans for 3 evenings a week serving meals. So pizza oven is on its way, so that's kind of going to be our main sort of thing. But yeah, our plans at the moment are only 3 days of three evenings a week. All other evenings we shut at 4 PM.
So you serve people outside also?
Yep, it will be table service. Yeah, we have tables inside and tables outside. Well, when we're allowed.
The issue Monday to Wednesday night is that because we're all about promotion of hospitality, and that includes young chefs. The promotion was that the ability to stay open Monday to Wednesday night is that we would invite those young chefs to potentially do like an invited dinner, or you could pay a per person thing and it would come with alcohol as like a tasting menu alongside their food. So that's why our intention is to keep it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday available for those people. Yeah, but the only nights we will be doing are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and would be in conjunction with pizza.
Thank you. And how do you get your deliveries? When do they come?
We get them daily from different wholesalers. They're delivered through a side door
into the car park.
Into the car park, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bento.
Yeah, I was just interested in the connection between the sort of restaurant area and the gymnasium. Are they directly linked, same ownership, or what is the relationship there?
No, we separately lease our area from the landlord. The landlord, the gym has its own separate ownership, and we have our own separate ownership, and then there's to the landlord. Yeah.
Right. So okay, that's fine. So what previously? I mean, it's probably difficult to talk about numbers because things have been so different for the last year or so. But let's go back to the January last year. or even before that, what sort of numbers were you getting into the cafe area?
We've only been open since December. We opened in.
And so it's not been opened before?
No.
No. Okay. No, I'm interested to hear about the whole venture. I did come and visit it yesterday. I thought I must find out where you are and see what the surroundings are, because obviously I've read all the complaints and reservations about the opening, and so I thought it's necessary to look and see where you are. And it looked a very nice presentation of a building, and I saw people enjoying lots of nice pastries. I wasn't tempted in because I've got to be careful.
Yeah,
but,
like I said,
nice.
Hospitality is at the lifeblood of the roasting party, and I have been doing hospitality for well over 20 years. I started in Australia, and this mix of a casual dining experience along with fantastic coffee that we roast as well. I mean, most of the idea behind the venue was that it was a promotion or a showroom for us as the roasting party. I mean, I feel like even though Hampshire is our base, actually we're more well known in London and probably overseas as we are in Hampshire. And that's because we don't have a presence here, and this is a lovely, beautiful spot. I think I designed a very nice cafe for people, I mean, we aren't obsessed about like turning tables and making lots of money. We want people to have a very nice experience and to enjoy the time and the food, and for us to help with knowledge as well. I mean, we have all of my staff, I invest a lot of money into training and making sure that they deliver a very nice experience. So that's the objectives of the place. This isn't become like a boozer or a party venue. That is the least thing I want.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Anything else from you, Councillor Bento?
No, that's fine. Thank you very much.
You stole my question, so you're lucky. I was going to ask about the gymnasium as well. Right. Okay. Thank you. Right. There are no responsible authorities that have registered to any representations on this matter, so we will carry on now with the other persons who have made relevant representations, which if I run down my list, do we have Mr. Wallace, please?
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Good morning. You'd like to address the subcommittee, please?
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, with reference to my representation, my name is Alan Wallace. My wife and I have lived happily at Robbins Court for 13 years. Our home is about 100 metres from Station Mill and is adjacent to the public car park. We're very concerned about this application for alcohol, especially as there seems to be very late hours, as the applicants have admitted. Most days of the week seems to be no limit on that. It threatens to upset our happiness, health and well-being. It seems that no thought has been given to anyone living near to Station Mill. Any gathering, if it's a party or not, consuming alcohol on and off the premises will inevitably be the source of a lot of noise, loud music, disturbance of the peace, and potentially antisocial behaviour fueled by the alcohol. The owners can't control their clients when they've had plenty to drink. Both at the Station Mill and in the surrounding area and car parks, this is a quiet residential conservation area. This is potentially every day of the year until late at night, and possibly the early hours of the morning when the parties, the clients, spill into the surrounding area with their beers and wine, etc. If this license is granted, the stress and anxiety caused will be intolerable to everyone living in the vicinity, and any requests to keep the noise down and to respect the neighbours in all likelihood will be ignored or even abused. Surely everyone has the right to be able to relax, have peace and quiet, and be able to sleep soundly in their home without fear of outside disturbances. I thank you for giving us the opportunity to raise our fears and concerns.
Right, thank you very much. Do we have Mrs. Torkington next, please?
Hello, can you all see me? If I may,
We can't see you.
Can you see me? My camera's on.
No.
Oh, okay, but you can hear me, everybody.
We can hear you. Yes.
That's good then. Okay, if I may read the representation first of all by Mr. and Mrs. Anthony Cannings. Yeah, I'm literally going to read it, although it is in the agenda pack. Our objection is that a licence of this kind will result in high levels of noise and undoubtedly encourage antisocial behaviour in a peaceful conservation area. With the open space on site, the public are unlikely to cease once the cafe is closed, but hang around the area until the early hours with considerable nuisance to the neighbours. We have 6 years' experience of this in Ocean Village, Southampton, resulting in drunkenness, foul language and breach of the peace, all of which constitutes public nuisance. The cafe at present complements the beautiful mill and the calm setting of this area in Alford, whilst respecting the tranquil and ancient cemetery next door. Our house has its living and bedroom windows directly facing the mill and cafe, and will therefore be impacted by this disruption, as will all the residents on Station Road and surrounding area, many of whom are elderly, some in sheltered housing. Changing this business into a licensed premise by a company registered at Companies House as unlicensed restaurants and cafe seems a contradiction in terms. We were very surprised, as were all our neighbours, not to have been notified of this application in writing, rather than reading it in the paper. So that's the representation for Mr. and Mrs. Canning. Mine was pretty similar. I mean, I can sort of read the whole thing. My objection is based on my concern that this new licence will increase the possibility of public nuisance for the many dwellings nearby, including my own. And I'm particularly concerned about noise nuisance after 11:30 p.m, not only from cars, but from people who have been drinking, who don't realise how loud they are, walking down Station Road or through the churchyard. I have added, I have visited this cafe a few times during the day, both during the week and at weekends, and it is a great place. I would have no objection if it were to stay open until 8 o'clock. So for me, it's the timings, it's the fact that the planning, the application, which doesn't really fully describe what the applicants are intending from what they said at the beginning of the meeting, strikes fear basically into us that there's going to be a supply of alcohol from early in the morning till late at night. So yeah, that's what I'd like to say really. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much indeed. Do we have Mrs. Rogers, please?
Yes, good morning, councillors and everyone else. I have been asked to attend this meeting as a representation from Elizabeth Blackburn, a resident at the old police house. She has submitted a written representation already, which is page 40 of your report. So I won't read that again. It is the basis of her objection is the prevention of public nuisance primarily, particularly the noise aspect. To do with not only patrons of the cafe, but also music that has been played at the premises already. And if this continues with the longer hours, this will be an even greater disruption to the area. The problem, I think, has arisen mostly because of the music that has been coming from the cafe. And this has, despite the neighbours asking them not to play the music, they have had to resort to going to the environmental health officer to ask them to stop the music, and it has now stopped. So one of her questions is, as Bryony mentioned earlier, if they have an alcohol license, then they can therefore play music, live or recorded music, for these hours as well. And that would just be unacceptable breach of the peace and quiet of the area, is her main concern. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Lockyer?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think most of my objections have been talked about by the previous speakers. The concern I have, I'm perfectly happy to have a restaurant serving wine until some reasonable time in the evening. At 11:30 at night means 12:30, and New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve is just not acceptable to that time. So I don't want to add too much to what's already been said. So thank you for allowing me to represent my
thank you.
The residents of Bailey House.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Mr. Tiltman, please.
Hi, I'm talking on behalf of my wife, Shelley Tiltman. She lives in the new block of the old police station. Her representation is already on page 43 of the agenda, and the main issue there was noise pollution / nuisance, which has already been discussed by many other people already. Also parking and traffic in the car park already being limited as it is, especially for more non-mobile users, wheelchair users and the like. My wife's main concern obviously is we have a disabled daughter. She's a full-time wheelchair user. She appears on many of the spectrums, unfortunately, and she is susceptible to noise. And late at night, noise nuisance, if she is woken and won't go back to sleep, will cause her a lot of distress. And yeah, it will lead to meltdowns, tantrums, potentially, which could take hours to subside, which then in effect would then be a nuisance to all the people actually living in the block as well, not just the people outside the block and what's going on at the venue. I mean, like other people have said, I mean, I like the sound of what the owners are trying to create. It's just the alcohol license to that late at night potentially is what's unacceptable to us, and we feel will cause a lot of distress to my daughter particularly, and just the other residents and the local residents as well. The noise potentially, I mean, it's already there, so there's already music coming out. I mean, if there was a way for them to actually maybe change the position of the speakers so it doesn't actually blare out of the doors outwards towards the community, and actually be more insular, so that basically the speakers were maybe turned into the restaurant so it was more inclusive within the actual building rather than being blasted outwards, that would help. And obviously not as late. I mean, 2 a.m. on Christmas Eve, I mean, that would could be quite jovial, let's say, around the area, but and will cause disturbance. But you know, on the whole, it sounds like quite a nice venue. I've not visited. I have witnessed the sound during the day at my wife's apartment just outside, and I'm aware of it. So that's it really. I just would like to say, you know, I think it's too late, and it would be a nuisance for my disabled daughter, and it will cause her a great upset. So I'd like that to be taken into consideration, please.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now then, the applicant or the premises license holder, if they'd like to address the committee and clarify any of the issues that have been raised by the representations.
Thank you very much. We can understand what people are saying, and we have chatted about this because obviously we've read the objections to the application. So as a result of that, we would be happy to scrap the Christmas and New Year's Eve thing together. So that can be a condition on our license. We won't stay open past 6 on Christmas Eve, might even be earlier, and so New Year's Eve we're quite happy to not be open for those occasions. We can understand people's concerns about that, so that's good with us. The music, we agree. The speaker can be moved, and we've discussed that, and we will do that.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to. I mean, we've only been open during COVID, and only when people have been able to be outside. You know, this is why, you know, probably at the front, you know, and not more insular. We don't have people inside, so you know, it just kind of gravitated us towards stuff that, you know, it's obviously not our intention to annoy people, you know, with our music and stuff. But we are a restaurant, and we want to create you know, a good experience here. But likewise, people haven't been able to come to our venue, so they've only been outside. So, you know, to create that experience, we've had the speakers at the front, but they will be moved. Yes.
Do we want to talk about any more of this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the next suggestion would be that we would do last service of alcohol outside, and finish at 9 o'clock there. If you would like to consume alcohol after that point, then you'd have to come inside. We would consider that as and the doors would be closed. So you could sit outside and not have alcohol, but you would have to be inside to consume alcohol on the premises after 9 o'clock with the doors shut. Would be another consideration.
Done Sunday night. Yeah. I think that's it.
I think that's all from us. Yeah. Your speaker is not on, Derek.
Right, sorry. Councillor Raffel, do you have any questions to the applicant for things that have been raised by the representations?
No, Chair, I think they've covered everything I needed to ask, so not at all.
Thank you. Councillor Bento?
Yeah, I'm just questioning a little bit more about music, because when I go to a restaurant, I like to eat. I'm sort of reasonably happy to have some background music, but if I were to talk to my fellow diners, I don't want to have to shout at it. So can we limit the sound? I mean, who are you trying to appeal to by having loud music?
Because we haven't been open as a restaurant yet, that is possibly why it has been a little bit loud, because we've been open takeaway venue. People have not been allowed to be inside because of COVID. We don't want it loud in there. We agree with you. People need to be able to sit and have a chat of an evening. So the music, it won't be excessive.
Right. Yeah. Some of the complaints about the music obviously refer to the music coming from the gym area, which is obviously not your concern. I'm sure you can just answer the question. What are the gym hours? Are the gym,
I believe, is 6:30 to 9.
right?
6 on a Sunday.
And are you aware of loud music coming from there?
Not particularly, but I mean, remember, I'd like to think that we were busy, so we probably like concentrating on just getting work done and our customers. And again, you know, when they're busy, we're closed at the moment. We close at 4, and you know, they've been open a couple of weeks. Generally, you know, when people have been going to the gym, it's after 4. So we haven't been in that crossover yet. So I couldn't really comment on that.
No, fine. Okay. Yeah, you're obviously willing to make some concessions in relation to this license application. I think we might need to ask Bryony, really. Do we need to clarify how far concessions we should ask for, Bryony?
So I was hoping, Councillor, that I could clarify a couple of points with the applicants. They've made some indications that they're willing to compromise on some things, but perhaps not offered times or things like that. So if I may, perhaps I can ask for some clarity on those points that I've made notes of, and then we might get a better idea of what you can consider as conditions as the committee making the decision. So I've made a note that you've offered that alcohol would not be supplied for consumption in the external area past 9 PM each day. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that the doors to the external area.
2100? Are we talking about 2100 or 9 AM?
2100. Apologies. And you've also advised that the doors to the external area of the premises would remain closed after 2100 each day, obviously with the exception of emergency exit. Okay. And then there were a few comments towards the start of this hearing where you advised that you have a retail offering. But perhaps my understanding of what you said, and forgive me if I've misunderstood this, is that any alcohol supplied for consumption off the premises before a certain time would be sealed, like a sealed container of wine or you know, something like that. So what sort of time would you say would you be willing to offer as that cut-off time where off sales can only be sealed?
11 AM written down here.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear you. Did you say 11 AM?
Yeah, that's when people may start coming in for lunch.
Okay, so obviously I'll pop these down for the benefit of the committee. This is what you're offering essentially as compromise. And then there was also a discussion about not providing alcohol for consumption on the premises before a certain time, and or not providing alcohol for consumption on the premises without a table meal. So are you able to offer some clarity on what it is that you wanted there?
So you mean between retail and having people?
We were saying that maybe before 11, if they wanted to have something with their breakfast for a special occasion, we could alcohol only with food before 11.
So if you were to say we ran a like a champagne breakfast that you enjoyed, a champagne with, you know, caviar or something, was one, but wouldn't run that every day because that's a very unique experience. You know, we are inclined to want to create these, like, you know, special experiences, you know, that's not getting served elsewhere. So, you know, that would be the only reason. But obviously we need to, you know, again, we're not a boozer. We want to promote, you know, extremely nice champagne. So it already lends itself to not excessively drinking anyway. So
in relation to that, is there a certain number of events that you might limit yourself to per year where alcohol is permitted for consumption on the premises prior to 11 AM?
Yeah, we could. Yeah, that would be more than acceptable. Yeah.
What would your suggestion be?
I haven't really thought about it, but maybe one a month, I guess.
Yeah, so on 12 occasions per year, but no more than one per month, I could perhaps draft into a condition to present to the subcommittee.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do at this moment is just ask my licensing manager, Carol Stefanchuk, to take over from me. I do apologise, I have got a dog in the room who is causing a bit of fuss. So if I may pass over to Carol at this moment, just while I go and sort him out.
Nice.
Thanks, Barney. Okay.
Good morning. Can you all hear me? I know sometimes I have problems with my microphone.
No, you're fine there today, Carol.
I'm leaning forward a little bit, so hopefully that helps. Apologies. So Bryony's covered some possibilities which sometimes we suggest to the applicant and or the members to consider for sets of conditions where you might consider different timings for on or off sales or different times in the day. That then is some sort of mediation to allow your business to run and provide licensed activities, but also for the local residents to have some Comfort, I guess, is perhaps one of the words I'd use, that it's not every day like it appears on the application, and we appreciate that it's very difficult for all parties, because as an applicant you want to obviously try and give yourself as much scope as possible to provide activities, but equally from a resident's perspective it can be quite daunting that you might like to serve alcohol every day. So we completely understand, and that's why we try and give some suggestions of how there might be some sort of mediation between all parties at these hearings. So that's useful that you've considered that, and I appreciate you've been put on the cuff a little bit in the meeting about thinking about number of events, but that's something that if sat there now you think it might be possible in terms of giving options for the members to consider a certain number of events per year or per month, then that's a useful way of, if they were minded to grant the licence, being able to accommodate for everybody. One thing to also mention, I don't know whether it's worth mentioning it now at this time for the local residents, that I heard that there are some complaints or some correspondence with our environmental health department about noise that's come from the premises already. I'm not aware of which premises, whether it's the gym or your cafe, but equally obviously that's a disturbance to local residents. To give a better perspective for those residents here, that's the best thing to do. So if you do get any form of noise complaints that's disturbing you, that is more than an acceptable nuisance, then please continue to log them with Environmental Health. And for everyone's benefit, this Licensing Act 2003 that we're working under for licensed activities also has a review process. So if the committee were minded to grant a licence today, there obviously will be conditions which the applicants must comply with. If there's any breach of those conditions, or there's a level of unacceptable noise or antisocial behaviour that comes from having a premises licence at this premises, there is certain steps that obviously would be taken first, involving the relevant responsible authorities like Environmental Health and or the police if need be. And there is a review process to review that licence, which would come back to a licensing committee, either to condition the licence further, or there can be other measures taking place, such as changing the DPS or revoking the licence. So that's not to give any fear, it's just to give an understanding for everybody that if this was minded to be granted by the committee today, there is steps afterwards that could be taken if you did find it very difficult to live nearby a premises with an alcohol licence. Hopefully that covers everything. Is there any other questions from members or from the applicant at all?
Yeah, I've got one actually, Carol. The applicant was the applicant was saying about Christmas and New Year. I didn't quite catch what timings you said about on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
We're quite happy to close early on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, so probably 6 o'clock at the latest now.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay. Thank you. I have no more questions. Councillor Raphael, you had your hand up first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think these conditions are getting very picky. Running a business with these conditions, that I know they've said they would like to do that, but when you're actually running a business with these conditions, it's going to make it very difficult to follow. So just wind back on what you said you'd like to do and just follow what you put in the paperwork, I would suggest.
If we can remind members at this stage, we should be asking questions or clarifying anything the applicant said, not to make comments, please.
Thank you.
Councillor Bento.
Yes, I just want a little bit of clarification. I heard the applicant say that they were perhaps limiting the times of opening or using it as a restaurant on Monday to Wednesday or something like that, but did I get that wrong?
Yeah, so we would open up almost like not like a private event, but like a, almost like a table for 20 invitation where people pay per person to experience a chef who potentially would work at another restaurant, but they get to show off their skills and celebrate food that they potentially want to do. And this concept has worked really well in Sydney, where I'm from. But it's still only it's a booked, it's not like a free for all where people come in. We could potentially limit that to also inside. But, we want to encourage young chefs to use our space as, almost like a place to show off, where there's no limitation of potentially where they're working somewhere else. Like I said, we have Lewis Yates, who's worked at quite a few now Michelin star places, and I know he has that enthusiasm for hospitality that we do as well. And so it wouldn't be like we're open for dinner Monday to Wednesday. It would be like a booked set number, of people.
Right, so it's just a sort of slightly different aspect to the whole thing. One thing we haven't actually mentioned, and I think is relevant, is what is the size? What is the limit? I know we're in different times, but if we were ever to get back to normal times, indoors, how many people would you expect to seat indoors?
40 seats inside, and we have about the same outside. But
sorry,
the tables we have, 40 would be like if we had everyone on all the tables full. I mean, they're very long tables, so they're like 2.5 meter tables. So if there's only a table of like 3 people on that, I mean, you can't fit 40 covers outside. So but we're quite relaxed about that. It's more about people having a good time.
And outside, how many people? Tables?
About the same. We only have 6 tables outside, and they would take 40 people because they're bench seats. So
okay, fine. Thank you, Cal.
I mean, the space is also, I mean, it's 130 square meter. It's quite a large space. So I think, many other people would probably put well over 100 covers in there. I mean, we've already limited that because of what we want to do. So.
Okay, thank you. Can I just ask Bryony or Carol, is it appropriate for me to ask Mrs. Torkington to comment because she's got her hand up there?
I believe it's really up to you, Chair. If you're happy to facilitate that with the agreement of other members, then I don't see that being a problem.
So other members happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm happy. Yes, I think we ought to hear everybody's point of view.
Then, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Right, can you hear me? Yes, I'm just a little bit baffled by the fact that the original planning form, or sorry, application form, doesn't allow the applicants to fully explain what their intentions are. Because I'm sure if you look at the name for a start, Party at Limited, and then immediately your mind goes to this, a party venue, a pub venue. You look at the hours and you immediately jump to it's going to be like a pub, maybe a restaurant, etc. So yeah, I'm a bit baffled by the fact that we didn't have a lot to go on really to start with, and I don't know whether that's a problem with the actual form itself or the application process that doesn't lend itself. But I think there's a lot more information that have come out from the applicants today that, would put our minds at rest to a certain degree. So it's a shame that wasn't sort of able to be done initially. And I just wonder why, really.
I'm not sure the answer to that.
Or is that another story? Is that a long story?
I think just to very briefly address that point, I think the form was a statutory form, so it's actually outlined in regulation what should go into it. But your comments are understood, so thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. If you'd like to turn your camera off, and we won't see you eating your breakfast. Thank you. Bryony, you had your hand up.
I did, Chair, but Nathan put it
okay.
in better words than I could have. Thank you.
Okay, right then. So I've now lost my place. Where were we? We're there. Sorry, I've lost my. Oh, there we go. Right. Okay. Subcommittee there. Right. Okay. So the subcommittee will now retire to consider the application in private, with only the legal services representative and democratic services officers in attendance. Okay, so we will retire. If you'd like to stay where you are, anybody like to stay where they are, we will come back to you when we've made our decision. Okay. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you, Chair. Just to confirm, Matthew, could you pause the audio broadcast while we adjourn the meeting as well? Thank you.
I'm back.
Councillor Green, would you like me to do a roll call? Just so everybody's back again.
Would you please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Green.
I'm here.
Thank you. Councillor Bencote.
Yes, again.
And Councillor Raphael.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Bring back normal meetings. Okay, thank you very much, and I apologise for keeping you all waiting. In reaching its decision, the subcommittee has carefully considered the application, the representations made by other persons, and the applicant's evidence given today. It has taken into account the Council's statement of licensing policy, the Home Office guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, the duties under the Crime and Disorder Act of 1998, and the rights set out in the Human Rights Act of 1998. The subcommittee has concluded that the application should be granted with the additional conditions set out in the officer's report, with the following amendments. The hours the premises may be used for the sale by retail of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises shall be Monday to Sunday, 8 AM to 2300, Christmas Eve, 0800 to 2300, New Year's Eve, 0800 to 2300. The hours the premises may open for other than licensable activities shall be Monday to Sunday, 0800 to 2330, Christmas Eve, 0800 to 2330, and New Year's Eve, 0800 to 2330. And the following additional condition that the premises license holder shall ensure that no alcohol is supplied for consumption in the external areas of the premises after 2100 hours each day. The premises license holder shall ensure that the doors to the external area of the premises remain closed after 2100 hours each day, with the exception of the use for emergency access and exit for the following reasons. In order to promote the licensing objectives, the prevention of public nuisance and prevention of crime and disorder, the national guidance states that section 2.17, any condition should be tailored to the type, nature and characteristics of the specified premises and its licensable activities. There is a very similar provision in relation to proportionality at section 10.10. The council's statement of licensing policy at C2 mentions stricter conditions in areas with low level noise and licensable activities being held outdoors. These measures, we believe, will mitigate the public nuisance and potential of crime and disorder. The parties will be formally notified of the decision in writing shortly. The notification will include details of the right to appeal against the decision to the Magistrates' Court, which must be made within 21 days of the notification. That concludes the formal business of this meeting. May I thank you for attending this virtual meeting. And could we please stop the recording now?